Hello and welcome. Hope you're all doing good and enjoying being back to the grind after Christmas and New Year and all that. I'm really not, but we've got to work to earn some dollars, haven't we? So there we go. Yeah, not an amazing amount going on at the moment. I've been busy doing up my little office, so that's been taking up a bit of time, but I've been sort of mulling around this a little bit, so just should be a quick video, this one, just a few things just to run through. You can see I've got a few different types of pavers there just to marry up with these ones, because the first row which they're actually sat on, I'm going to effectively extend the patio out a little bit and then put 3 in that little jut out, and then use the coping stones as a sort of edging around it, if you see what I mean. So yeah, essentially got a decision to make on the sort of colour, if you like, of the pavers. Now, as you can see, or you might not be able to see, the light's not great today. I think it's going to start raining any second, so yeah, I might be a bit quick with this one, but never mind. So these pavers, they look as if they were grey, and then obviously they've aged off. So I've got a couple of grey ones. I've got I think they call that a buff, Cotswold buff, and then something that's a little bit of a darker grey. So if we have a look at this one now, this one actually marries up a bit better as it is at the moment when they're wet. This one on the right, which I can't remember what the colour is, but when it's light, it's really dark compared to these when they're dry. And been looking around. If we have a look at this one here, I think if I was to jet wash these off, they'd come up the same colour as the coping stones, like a sort of creamy or Cotswold buff. The only trouble is that because I've got these sort of rocks that are going to be here, there, everywhere, and a big waterfall at the back made out of them, I kind of quite like the sort of, the aged look, or the weathered look, as it were, so I'm a bit reluctant to actually jet wash them off. But it might be that's what needs to be done. So yeah, I still got to make a decision on it, but I think what I'm leaning towards actually is of the 2 middle ones, the grey, the left one, and the reason for that is the one on the right of the 2 greys actually is probably a bit more closer to what I want. But I don't know if you can see it, but can you see it's like squared edges, as opposed to the ones to the left, which has got a kind of rounded edge on it. These have got a rounded edge on it, and these pavers are supposed to be like butted right up against each other, and you can't see a join, as it were. So it kind of eliminates that one, which is a bit of a shame because it's the colour I really like. But it is what it is, which leaves me the others. So I'm kind of stuck between either jet washing them off, hoping that they come up this sort of creamy colour, and then put that in, which will marry it up, and then they'll all weather together, and then the copings will be that colour as well. But the other half of me is kind of saying I wouldn't mind a bit of contrast between the pavement and the coping stones. So if I was to leave all this as it is, weathered as it were, use this grey one which will weather, and then when I've got the coping stones running along as one single layer around them all, it will show up as a bit of a contrast there, which I think could work quite well. And the other thing that sort of point me in that direction is we got the grey there, we got the grey of the statue head in there, and then we've got the grey of the steps and the furniture that we've got at the moment, so that ties up sort of quite well. It's not completely random. So yeah, I think I'm probably 75% on the left of the 2 greys, and 25% or whatever on this buff one. I'm just I need to decide whether, because obviously once I start jet washing one, I'm going to have to jet wash them all off, which would be quite good because it means I can jet wash out all the lines around the middle in the joins, which should make it come up quite well. So yeah, I'll make a decision on that, unless anyone's got any particular input that they want to give. But yeah, we shall see. So maybe the next time it might actually have them in there, depending how it goes. with that. So yeah, another thing you might have just caught a flash of there, I've filled me flower beds up. If we go in a bit closer, you can see around that fence post there is my little bin liners that I wrap around it, and you know, you can just see a little bit poking out there at the bottom of there, at the back of this Cyathea bed. I've basically done a sort of general mix in there for the whole lot, and then what I'll do is I'll do a bit more of a specialist mix when I plant them, you know, tailoring it to the certain plants that are going in there. So in there, the smaller Cyathea is going to go in there. I picked up this little fern. He was all on his own in the plant shop in the garden centre, £3, and it's a Dryopteris erythrosora. You know, like I keep saying it because I got into the habit of saying erythrosa, and I got into such a habit that it's actually erythrosora, so it's kind of hard for me, it sounds like it's hard for me to get my words out, but it'll get there in the end. So I think he might actually enter the VIP bed, or the VIF bed as it were, which is going to be this one. When these two camellias come out, you can see they're just starting to bud up, or you probably can't. No. But yeah, they're going to be a nice pink by the look of it, both bushes, so quite happy with that. So these two are going to move out, the big one here in front of the statue, the smaller thinner one at the back, which will grow up high, and then yeah, the smaller Cyathea in this one where this Jurassic Gold is at the moment, just plotted him in there. And then with the big Cyathea, I did say a few videos ago about maybe getting some sort of bushy ferns in and around the bottom of it to keep the frost off it in the winter. And these Dryopteris erythrosoras are exactly that. You can see that one there in front of the banana. He should get a little bit bigger than that, I think, but he's quite bushy and quite dense, if that makes sense. So I may put this little one here where this sword fern is, or Polystichum muntium, I think that one's called. And this one, I did see a good size one of these the other day. I may move this one over to where this crispum fern is. I think this is Wallachiana. I've got another crispum fern. Oh, you can't see it. It's behind the sort of rocking chair over there. I don't really like the crispum myself particularly, so what I'll probably do is put that one and that one into a couple of nice pots and put them outside the front door, because it's quite shady out there, and they'll sort of be, you know, out there and be quite nice to look at hopefully when people come in. And then I might move that sword fern over there. I was going to put an Atrata in there just because that's the other VIF, as it were, so, but I've got a feeling that might be a bit big and it might take a bit away from the Cyathias. But yeah, who knows. So that's the plan going forward. I'm desperate to do it all actually and move it all in now. I just keep telling myself don't, because I've overwintered the Cyathias inside, and I'll probably kill him if I put them out now, and I'll probably, all these buds won't come out and stuff like that, but yeah, we'll see what happens with that. And just another on the inside plants that are on the inside, the Cyathea, I've got it actually in the room. It's on the other side of the room, but we've got these shutters as well, and we've got white walls, and it looks absolutely fantastic inside. The only trouble is it's a bit dry in there, so I'm having to spray them about 3 times a day and keep them well watered. So yeah, you know, it is what it is. Other than that, here I'll probably chop this bamboo down soon, right down, so that it can all grow again straight up when springtime comes. So yeah, moving on nicely with that. Like I said, I will make a final decision on these pavers. Probably, yeah, that sort of left of the 2 grey ones, but I'll have a little mull on it and see what I think. The other thing that's been going on is I've finally got the other Tiki Head. He's a little bit bigger than what I was thinking, but what it means is that I can start doing this section of it now. And what I'm going to do is the original Tiki Head, the smaller one, I'm going to move it to the right hand side of the steps, and then this big one I'll chuck in there and I may bury it. And what I want, because the insides of them is not actually that big, I don't want to have to constantly feed and repot them and that, so what I'll probably do is leave the top half of them on, and then if I can just get a good view on this, and then cut out like from here and down like that, and then that means that the bottom sort of back of it will be into the flower bed. Same with this one, which will go here and have it in, and it just means that the two Jurassic Golds, when they're in there, they'll be able to get their roots into the ground as well, if you see what I mean. The only trouble is with that is that it's a kind of, you know, one hit wonder. You know, I'm not gonna if I cut them, I'm not gonna be able, well, I might be able to put them back together, but yeah, so it's one of them. But you can see they're both the same. I think the make of these is Willowstone, I think. You can find them, they look quite nice. You can see that one's aged really nice on the right hand side, so that one, the new one, should do too. Yeah, so it gives me something to mull over. I was actually having a think about this the other day. I really need to get these next row of pavers in, which is going to take up these, then get the coping stones in where the grass is, and then move the grass a level layer up and see how it all sort of marries up, because it's the angle of the steps which is the sort of one, if you know what I mean. Because if they're like they are now, and that is basically the bottom steps almost facing across the garden, if you like, it means that you sort of, you know, in your mind you want to come out here and then walk up this way. But as this is going to be a paver and a coping stones, the actual hard surface, or the all-weather surface, if we want to refer to it like that, isn't going to come across the whole way of the step. So it may be that I need to angle both of these on a 45, like the top one, just move this bottom one slightly, spin it clockwise a touch so it marries up with that one, and then that will mean that when you sort of come in from here, you sort of are going that way where there will be pavers and then up onto it. Another thing I've got to think about is the finished height of this seating area. I want it to be pretty much as high as possible, but obviously I've only got so much dirt. So yeah, but you know, I'm gonna have to set these steps in and concrete them in, or cement them in. So once they're in now, I'm not gonna be able to, like, you know, if suddenly I want to raise that up 4 inches, it's not going to marry up with the top step. Another little thing that happened actually was I opened up this gate the other day, first time for ages, and these little coping stones that I've got on top of the wall, because if I had to take one off, the gate wouldn't open. So I'm either going to have to move that hinge up, or set these a bit further into the flower bed, if that makes sense, but then they'll be unbalanced. So yeah, a little bit of messing around to do, but I quite like these little bitty bits, as I call them, you know what I mean, the little 3-4% things that you just, you know, the fine details, as it were. But yeah, I mean, I think the gist is to maybe get the 2 Tiki Heads in there, mock it all up before I cut anything, see what the heights are going to work out as, and then go from there with it. So yeah, we'll see what I do by the next time I do a video. I just really need to get my office done, because I've plasterboarded it all, so I need to get it plastered and put a floor down and this, that and the other, because yeah, it's annoying me because I'm having to work at the dinner table, or do my paperwork at the dinner table. But other than that, I don't think since the last video, I don't think I've actually ventured out into the garden. So I don't know how they're all doing. The only thing I did notice, actually, I'll head up there, was this Phacedoria. I was going on the last few times about how I'm quite interested to see how the Phaceas and Phacedoria grows after the freeze, and like them flowering, like what point they flower from. They're not going to be growing from the original point, because I've chopped them all off, and the reason for that is because they all went like a real icky black, and it was all like I don't know if I can see any of them. Yeah, there we go, there's one there. Oh, I slipped over. So yeah, I don't know if you can see that very well, but can you see how horrible that's all gone at the top? I'll get it over, yeah, here we go. See how it's like, and that started spreading down the stems, so I sort of just chopped 2 nodes down on all the grow points that had that black on it, because I was a bit worried the rot was going to sort of travel all the way down the plant. So hopefully I've done alright with that and it'll be okay now. You can see the Dixonias, they're looking this one is probably dead. It's a small one, so that's probably dead. This one I'm going to assume it's dead, but the only thing that's given me a little glimmer of hope is that the bottom of the fronds are all nice and green. But obviously these aren't going to be photosynthesizing now, so I don't know whether to cut them off or not. I think my next thing actually is going to be gather up a load of leaves, take that just last bit of straw out, and then just stuff it with loads of leaves to rot down for the next couple of months. Maybe give it a little bit of liquid feed just to give it a quick boost, and see what happens. But yeah, other than that, you know, it's all wins and losses. Sorry, it's really slippy and I don't want to fall over, obviously. So yeah, so going forward, yeah, I'll make a final decision. I may jet wash off like a patio stone that's under this thing or in this corner that's a bit like not in the way, because obviously if I jet wash off one of those that's next to the stones, I'm going to have to do the lot of them, because otherwise it's going to be really out of place. So I'll do one that's a bit of an inconspicuous area, see what it comes up like. I mean, if we look at that again, and then that, they're sort of, there's that tinge there, so I'm pretty sure they're that sort of colour. So it's just whether I want the whole lot to be the same colour and jet wash all these, get the cream ones, and then have an edging of cream coping stones around it, or whether I leave them like they are, slightly weathered to marry up with the rocks that are dotted around, and then put in a row of grey which will sort of tally up with various grey things we've got around. And then have a little bit of contrast between that and the coping stones, which maybe I could jet wash off and get them all back up looking like they were when they were new. So yeah, plenty to be getting on with. We'll see what happens with it all. But yeah, other than that, not sure what will be done by the next time I do anything. Yeah, hope you're having a good day.